Welcome back to the It Starts With You podcast. I am beyond excited today to welcome Erik Seversen. Erik, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Julie. It's been nice. I've been working with you for a few years now, and I love what you're doing, and I'm really excited to be on your show.
Thank you. That's what I love about our world these days. We met on LinkedIn. We've talked virtually. I have the honor of being featured in one of Erik's books, one of his peak performance series books, Peak Performance Mindset Tools for Leaders. And this is the first time we're actually getting to talk, which I absolutely love that because I feel like I already know you. And I know that this is going to be such a juicy conversation because you have so many experiences. So Erik Seversen has lived an extraordinary life, from hitchhiking from London to Central Africa, to living with a remote Amur Indian tribe in the Amazon, to building and selling businesses. As an educator, Erik has reached over 1 million people through his public speaking and best-selling books. He has visited 95 countries, all 50 states, and has climbed the highest mountains on 4 continents and 21 countries. Erik believes that extraordinary success is a choice available to everyone. So first of all, you have such an impressive bio, as it is, and I would love for if you just share a little bit more about who you are and what you do in your own words.
Okay, Julie, thank you. It's always fun to kind of hear the checklist of a few of the things that I've done. And the interesting thing is they all just happened because I decided what a lot of people thought was impossible was possible. And I followed things I enjoyed more than anything. But you know what? It didn't start off easy for me. I was a relatively anxious child, and I didn't even know that. Now looking back and having had all the professional development I've had, I realized the anxiety I had, that I didn't know what it was back then. I just knew I was uncomfortable. And my parents were great. I come from a really average family in Tacoma, Washington, a suburb of Tacoma, Washington, actually. And, maybe a C-minus student. And I flunked the second grade. And part of that was, being anxious for the teacher to call me. Nobody knows how exhausting it is to hope the teacher doesn't call on you when you don't know how to spell the word, whatever she's going to ask, in a spelling test. But at the same time, I never gave up. My parents, they didn't have a lot of resources, but they were always pretty supporting. They weren't involved in my education, but they always showed love. And I think that was a big part about what made me how I ended up. Going up into junior high and high school, same thing, kind of getting through a little bit, played a lot of sports, and it wasn't a bad childhood at all. But at the same time, it was a childhood of just kind of getting by. In my junior year of high school, I decided I want to become a college professor. And I thought, college professors don't get C-minuses. And I changed my habits a little bit, but more than that, Julie, all I did is change my mindset. And suddenly I went from getting C's to A's, straight A's, and with a little bit extra work, but not much. And then I went on to UCLA to study, and I studied anthropology because I thought it was fun. That's why. Everybody said it was the least likely to succeed major. And then went on to study I lived with the Indians in South America as a grad student at University of Virginia. And I just kept following things I enjoyed, and it turned out to work out really well. And so that's kind of a quick introduction of the first part of my life, but you can decide what direction we go from there.
Well, first of all, it's just so interesting. I mean, a couple of the things that really stood out is this anxiety. I want to kind of go a couple directions with it. Is first of all, just like the anxiousness, because I actually hear that a lot from people, especially, now, just more anxiety, more overwhelm, more stress, and you can just feel it in people's in their energy, in the way that they're carrying themselves because of the way of the world now, because of everything going on. And so what do you think? You talk about mindset, which I feel like a lot of the times at that age, we don't really even know that mindset. So you made that shift pretty early on. Like, what actually got you into the mindset work at that age to help remove some of that anxiety and go for it?
Yeah, so my anxiety lasted actually up until middle of college, and I'll tell you the shift that happened. And I still feel it sometimes. It doesn't totally go away, but I'm really comfortable with it. And I thank God for every moment. It's just a really good place to be. Mm-hmm. But I told you that I didn't start getting good grades till my junior year in high school. My brother and sister did really well in school, and they had the counselor's interview, exit interview of high school, and they both came back with brochures, armloads of brochures of different schools. And my brother went on to Stanford, my sister went on to do great things, and brother got his MBA at Harvard after Stanford. And so I was excited for this interview because, like I said, I was totally engaged at this point. The same counselor walks into the room, looks at my transcript, half C minuses and half A's. She said, "Erik, what do you want to do with your life?" And I said, "I want to go to UCLA." And so she pushed herself away from the desk, looked at me. As she's leaning forward, standing up, she said, "You'll never get into a school like that." And she walked out. And and that was it. I was expecting she was going to come back with a brochure of something different, but she didn't. I couldn't believe it. And that's when I really decided, oh my gosh, it was just, I was sitting there holding back tears. Is she right, is what I kept asking myself, right? So I applied to UCLA, and I got rejected. I applied to one school because I was so confident I was going to get in, and I got rejected. And that's when I really could have said she was right, and then gone on and lived my life according to that path. Instead, I said, I'm going to do everything I can to get in. And it wasn't to prove her wrong necessarily, but it was to complete what I set my goal to be. So I went to community college for 2 years, continued getting straight A's. And the reason I went to Africa was I realized that even getting straight A's wasn't going to get me into UCLA. I had to do something radically different. So I thought, you know what, going to Africa would be something that would really raise eyebrows on the people looking at the applications getting into UCLA. And the reason I chose Africa was because I read a book by Chinwe Achebe called Things Fall Apart. And it was totally different from what I was learning in my geography classes and in social history classes in school. So I wanted to see it for myself. I couldn't afford to get to Africa, so I mowed lawns for 8 months, and I could afford a ticket to London. So then I hiked down through Europe to Spain, took a boat from Gibraltar over to Morocco, and worked my way through the Sahara down to Central Africa. But so that's when, Julie, the mindset totally shifted to, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try anyway. And in the end, after 2 years at JC and I went to Green River College, which was great. Going to Africa, I got into UCLA and ended up graduating with highest honors. And so that's where I didn't even know, though, at that point, it wasn't a conscious mindset shift. All it was a determination not to quit.
Oh, okay. Those of you who are listening, pause, rewind, listen to that again. Is the determination not to quit. One of the things that came up when you were talking, Erik, was this idea of, if you want something different, do something different. And it sounds like you really made that shift.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. And I still live by that. I think Salvador Dali said, it's not the normal people remember, it's the crazy. And you can substitute the word different for crazy, because if you're different, people think you're crazy, even if you right? And so I intentionally do things to make myself a little bit different. When I speak on stages, 100% of the time, I wear bright red pants. And I do that, one, because it's something different. When people if I walk onto a stage and people are sitting there at a conference or whatever it is, or a keynote, people are like, unconsciously, there's something's different about this, and it's different because I have bright red pants. And I have like a nice jacket and usually a button-up shirt, but bright red pants. So they suddenly think something's different about this today. And when we see something different, our curiosity opens up a little bit and we receive things a little bit better. And also, people remember me. I was at a conference in, I think it was Chicago, and I gave a speech about day one of a 4-day conference. And after the speech, people came up and talked to me. Walking out of the conference 4 days later, somebody ran up to me and she goes, "Oh my gosh, I wanted to talk to you after your talk, but it was too busy. I had to get to the next session, but I recognized your pants."
Yeah.
She talked to me, and that led into a business relationship that lasted for quite a few years. If I weren't wearing the red pants, she wouldn't have noticed me. And another one with the red pants is I used to give workshops in China once a year for 2 weeks, and at Communication University of China in Beijing. And the United Nations asked one of the people at the school if they knew somebody who could design a program for them, publicity program. And one of the administrators said, "What about the guy with the red pants?" He didn't remember my name. If I didn't because I wore the red pants during every one of my workshops for years. If I didn't have those pants on, there's zero chance they would have said, hey, what about Erik Seversen? Because they don't even know the name Erik Seversen. They just remember the guy with the red pants. So that's an example of something slightly different that led to some great things. And I try and find that boundary of being different enough that everybody notices, but not different enough that it's clownish or gimmicky.
Oh, that is such a good tip, because I think of so many people that I work with, whether they are, growing in their careers, whether they're growing in their businesses. There's always this idea. I mean, as kids, we try so hard to fit in and blend in with everybody. And then as we grow and we try and reach this potential and we try and do all these things, we need to not blend in. We need to stand out. But I feel like there's this conflict that so many people have. And so you're really leaning into, how do you find your competitive advantage? How do you find your unique thing to stand out so that you don't just blend in with everybody else doing the thing that you want to do?
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't have to be an outward thing. It can be even gratitude, standing out by gratitude. If you're the person who's always kind of the glass is half full, you're always optimistic around other people, there's nothing physically showing that's different from you. But people are going to gravitate towards you, and also thankfulness with other people. And I think that that's a really good quality that makes somebody shine without any physical differences in us. And that's another good way to be different. When everybody else is complaining about the state of things, you're the one who's realizing that there are things that aren't perfect, for sure, but being grateful for the things that are. And I think that is another good way to just stand out. And all that is that mental shift again of, how am I perceiving what's happening in the world? How do I want to contribute to the world? Do I want to add to the negativity by complaining about it? Or do I want to be the person who's repelling the negativity by seeing the good things that are? Because no matter how bad things are, there are also good things to be grateful for.
And I talk about that all the time, gratitude and that perspective. I mean, I've shared with a lot of my episodes, I start every single morning writing 5 things I'm grateful for, because you're intentionally setting up your day with what you're going to look for, because what you look for is what you're going to find. And so I love that you talk about that, because it's not necessarily a tangible thing that people could point to, but I think one of the greatest compliments is when somebody comes up and says, oh, I just love your energy. Because to me, that's you bring this energy, and you have the same thing. And I think you then attract, when you show up the way you want with that energy, you attract in the right people and opportunities into your life that are going to be in alignment with that.
Oh, I totally agree, Julie. And I love that you have that routine. Actually, the shirt I'm wearing, it's every damn day. And what it is, this is from a guy named Seversen, he's the morning hero. And he believes starting your day off with the routines, also waking up earlier. So he gave me this shirt in January 4th, 2023. I met him for the first time. A few of us, he, myself, and 2 other business owners went up into the mountains and just brainstormed each other's businesses for 4 days straight. Put the blinders on and did that. And when he heard my goals for 2023, and he already knew what I was working on going up to that, he said, what's going to change? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you can't complete everything you've said with everything you've already got going on. So what's going to change? And I said, I don't know. And he said, why don't you become a morning hero and wake up every day earlier? So since January 4th, I've only missed being at my desk on a work day at 6 o'clock. One single time. It's because I went to a play the night before and got home super late, and I decided I wasn't going to set my alarm. But so every damn day I get up, I read the Bible, I do some meditation, I make a list, and I be really intentional about what that day is going to be like. And it's having that routine that you've got about having your list of 5 gratitude things every single day is a really strong way to get you going through the day.
And that's like you said, it goes with me everywhere. I mean, I travel quite a bit. It's with me. I take that routine with me, and it's setting your day up. And I'm so curious, as you're talking about all the practices that you have and things that you've done, where was the shift, or I guess what caused the shift for you of going from, I'm going to do this for myself, like I'm going to work on my mindset and I'm going to be the best that I can be, to I also now want to help other people do this, because you speak, you have books, you help other people get in books, all around this idea. Like, where was that shift that is like, now I want to help other people do this with their lives?
Yeah. So even one even one of the anxious things when I was a child is my best quality too, because that anxiousness, because I tried so hard to please people. I was such an obsessive people pleaser, right? So even early on, and then as I became older, I realized that you don't have to please people to get affirmation from them. You want to please people because it's the right thing to do, and not care about the result as much. So that was a shift that happened in my early 20s, I think. And how I got into a platform to be in front of others is just by a mistake. My first book, Ordinary to Extraordinary, I published in 2018, and I wrote this just for fun. First sent to a book agent, and the agent said, "Erik, you and all your friends are going to love this." That's not a compliment, is it? He said, "No." And this book is full of first-person narratives about my life, true first-person narratives. And he said, "It's all about you. Nobody cares about that but you and your friends." And so I spent a year reworking that book to be reader-focused, based on Emily S. Smith's book, The Power of Meaning. How did I feel a sense of belonging by living with the Indians in South America? How did I have a moment that changed my life when I saw the Aurora Borealis in Alaska? A transcendental moment that made a life-changing shift. How did this thing make me feel a purpose beyond myself? So anyway, I reworked it to be reader focused, and the book kind of took off and led to a lot of public speaking requests. So that's when I went public with my kind of mindset ideas. And then when COVID-19 happened, I left international business development position at a company in January 2020 to speak full time. And that was a great idea, but really bad timing, because 2 months later that disappeared.
Right.
And that's when I dove into the books. And so since July 2020, I've done 1 solo book and 11 co-authored book projects about mindset, performance, and of course you were part of Peak Performance Mindset Tools for Leaders, which was wonderful. Loved your chapter, by the way.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
Yeah, and so that's where I got onto that, and then that just snowballed into more public speaking and things like that. And the pinnacle, I think, if you call it that, was because of the book. I was asked to speak in front of 750,000 people in India a year ago. In fact, a year ago today, I was in India for that it was the death anniversary of Tutoji Maharaj, a beloved prince in India, and they asked me to speak about being extraordinary together. That was the big part, is together.
Wow. I remember seeing your post on that. You had an image on LinkedIn, right, of the crowd, and oh my goodness, just the number of people that you're able to, I mean, that's the thing, is when you get on those stages and with all these books that you've done, this platform, you're doing it because you have this driving force of, like, you've seen what it's done for your life and you see what it does for other people's lives, and now you're amplifying that in order to be able to help other people do the things that have helped you be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I get to work with the authors, seeing what you've done, and your firewalking experience is inspirational, right? And so I get leveled up just by working with the authors I work with, which is fabulous. And then again, if you weren't part of the book that we did together, I wouldn't be here speaking now. So it just snowballs bigger and bigger and bigger, and I love that, because my number one joy comes from reader feedback, and somebody who I've literally, Julie, you can't imagine some of the heartwarming emails or messages I've gotten of people's lives being changed, people transforming from borderline suicide to thriving, people who quit drinking and a year sober have transformed their lives, people who repaired a relationship. And so that is my number one excitement in life. And because I'm in books with co-authored book projects right now, the number two one is also, like I said, becoming a community with the other authors and all of us benefiting from the relationships together. So it's been a really, really good platform to get out there and maybe be in front of the right person at the right time.
Mm-hmm. And surrounding yourself, and I think that's been one of the biggest shifts for me personally, is when you surround yourself with other people who are pushing themselves, who are challenging themselves, who might be a lot further along than you, And you might, have a little bit of an imposter syndrome, but at the same time, they're helping to show you what's possible. And I think you're really creating that avenue for people and that sense of community. I know I've connected with a lot of the people who are in the book, and I think sometimes people can get bogged down in their environment of people. You're talking about that negativity and that energy. And if you're around that all the time versus if you step into and surround yourself with people who are striving for more, who are striving to help the world and help people, it helps bring you up. Like energy attracts like energy, and that has a really big impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned imposter syndrome. Even to this day, recently I was in a room and I'm like, my thought was, oh my gosh, how am I in this room? All of these people are such superstars, how in the world am I in this room with these people? And I think if we don't have imposter syndrome from time to time, we're not pushing ourselves far enough. We're not getting to that edge. And some people don't want to be on that edge. Some people are really comfortable in the middle of the pack, the middle of the herd. And that's wonderful too. But for me, I want to continue to be growing as far as I can. If I'm not on that, doing that, if I'm not on the edge of that, I'm not growing as quickly as I can. And that brings imposter syndrome up from time to time. Happily, again, this is something that I experienced when I was young and I didn't understand it. Now I understand it. So when I feel imposter syndrome, which I just thrive on, I love it because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm on that edge, and I embrace it, and it goes away because I embrace it. I told you about there was a shift in college that changed my anxiety. I was sitting in an honors anthropology program. It was 8 students, myself, and the professor in this honors seminar at UCLA, and I literally was sitting in that room looking around this round boardroom table thinking, every single one of these people is smarter and better than I am. And luckily, I think the professor picked up on that. His name is Peter Hammond at UCLA. And so he took me under his wing a little bit, and not even talking about what imposter syndrome was. He helped me realize I did belong in that room. And at the end of 2 years in that program, I won Best Undergraduate Research at UCLA with a cash prize for it. All because he helped me realize I belonged in that room. Otherwise, I would have tried to skate through with my tail between my legs, faking it, and probably doing okay, and probably getting okay grades. But he helped me realize, no, embrace this where you're at, and you can do anything. And that helped a ton.
Oh my goodness. And so that's the thing, if you're listening and you're sitting there thinking like, okay, I don't have those types of people in my circle right now, this is your push to stretch yourself, to find those people that are going to kind of hold your feet to the fire, that are going to kind of, give you that push, but also support you along that. And Erik, what do you think? So having been in this space for a long time, with the books and around people and speaking, what do you think the thing is that gets in people's way the most when it comes to reaching their potential and the performance that they could have?
I think that there are a few things. The first one that comes to mind is self-sabotage, because I think people are really internally, unconsciously often scared of reaching some of the goals that they've got. I actually came from, my family was lower middle class, and I didn't even realize till 2016 or 18, probably around 18, that I had a scarcity mindset, money mindset, where I didn't think that I deserved to make a certain amount of money for certain things. And so that was a limiting thing that kept me in a certain place for a while. And once I broke through from that no, money, there's nothing bad about money at all. And we can do great things with it. It helped me to go to a whole nother level that I might not have ever arrived at if I kept that mindset of, even the mindset of, there's something wrong with rich people, that rich people are greedy, rich, whatever. And so once I realized I can still be a good person and make money, that was a limiting belief that I was holding myself back. But also the self-sabotage, I think a lot of people, they might say they want to go onto a speaking stage. But every time there's a door that's cracking open, they find a way to shut it because they're not ready. And this could be consciously or unconsciously. So I know one person who, he's genius, super, super, super smart. And he has all these entrepreneurial ideas, and he always gets them off the ground. And then it's on to the next idea. And I think that this person is actually scared of actually really succeeding, because it's scary to work on a project entirely solo. I totally believe we need community. That guy Jarvis that gave me the shirt, I was asked to be part of 3 other business owners to go up in the mountains and brainstorm each other's businesses for 4 days. As a 100% solo business owner, I think we need that to create our own communities. And so now in October we're going to meet. They're all in San Diego. I'm in LA. I'm going to go down to San Diego and meet with them in October for a half day, or actually 1 day, and we're going to kind of just check up where we are with the goals we set in January. And if I didn't have these people to be accountable to, it would be so easy to get busy with other tasks that aren't pushing my business in the direction it needs to go if I want to continue it to grow.
Oh gosh, I see that all the time. So obviously I do a lot of one-on-one coaching, and I see that all the time, that self-sabotage, that so interesting. We talk about, like the fear of failure, but also that fear of success, because essentially you're trying to rewrite who you are. You're trying to step into this new person or this new level of yourself that's unfamiliar, and so of course it's scary. And so it's a lot of that. So people come and they have, I want to make this much of my business, or I want to achieve this level, and they think it's just these external things. It's like, oh no, hang on, we got to do like the dirty work, and like I always say, like, get to the root of what's really going on, because you're either not going to get there because you don't believe you can, or you don't believe that's who you are, or you're going to get there and it's not going to be sustainable, or you're going to burn yourself out because you can't maintain that level when you don't have that belief in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that people need to have their goals and visualize themselves. I do a guided meditation by Vishen Lakhiani every morning, and it's 6-phase meditation. One of the phases is visualizing your future in 3 years, and very clearly in present tense visualizing who that is. And we used to play a game when I was kind of just getting into the professional development part, and this is what I did in some of the workshops in China as well, is we would decide who we were going to be in 10 years. And I was working with younger people in their 20s, and they would have to visualize who they're going to be in 10 years, say 34 years old. And then we would have a soiree where you had to act that part all evening. So if you decided you're going to be an author, you would dress like you think an author dresses.
Wow.
You would introduce yourself as an author. If somebody was going to be an entrepreneur, they were going to introduce themselves as a successful entrepreneur, a stockbroker, whatever it was. But I really acted that identity for the evening. And I think we need to visualize our futures and also see very clearly who you want to be in 10 years, how are you going to dress, what occupation is it going to be, and then ask yourself, how does that person act? And then start acting like that right now.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Eric, we have there's so many similarities. We talk about visualizing all the time, different visualizing exercises where you see so clearly. I have this whole kind of vision funnel that I walk people through. And so you see so clearly where you are 1 year, 5 year, 10 years from now, like who you are, how you're showing up, who you're surrounding yourself with, how you feel. And then you go, now what would somebody who is like that, or somebody who has that, be doing today to help you to make that achievable and make it, because I think sometimes people either can't see that vision, they struggle with the vision, or it feels so far off. And so how do we create that? I think that's a great tool. So again, pause this. If you haven't done your visualization, take Erik's advice, work on your visualization. What would be one other thing that you would say if somebody's listening and going, okay, I know my mindset's important, I know that I should do this. What's another sort of simple but like big bang for your buck thing that somebody could start implementing right now to help them to move towards all of these things that they want?
Yeah, I think that the 3 quick things that popped in mind and I kind of touched upon them. One is gratitude. I can't express how much that is. Just be thankful for every little thing. I'll be sitting there and I just say, thank you for this chair, in the middle of the day. And it just reminds me. So gratitude for everything changes our inner, I think, our glow, so to speak, and our mentality too. And the second is that having a community, making sure, whether it be a friend that you just call and say, okay, can I just touch base with you once a week? One of my friends he was in a really bad skiing accident, so he was like hospitalized for months, and he's always been in super good shape. And then after he got the okay to work out without limitation from his doctor about a year after the accident, he said, "Hey, Erik, I gained weight during this period. Can I just text you my weight every morning? Don't need to respond or anything. It's just going to help me be accountable, knowing that somebody's going to look at this every morning." And I said, "You know what? I could lose a little bit too. I'll do it back." And so that was about probably 4 months ago. And since then, he's gotten back to his not exactly where he wants to be. He's super fit anyway. So you look at him, he looks like a bodybuilder, but he still thinks he wants to lose weight.
Yeah.
But so he's back to his comfortable spot, and I'm right in my sweet spot, I think, where I'm healthy as an active person. And so that was it. Just reach out to somebody and say, can you help me be accountable? It could be a friend, and it doesn't have to be a text every morning. It could be, can we have a 5-minute call once a week, and to build a small community so that you're not doing things all alone, especially if you're an entrepreneur. And I think any good manager works as an entrepreneur anyway too, with an entrepreneurial mindset. That will totally separate managers from other managers if you work every day with an entrepreneurial mindset, in my opinion.
Oh my goodness, I love that. Gratitude, community, surrounding yourself with people. Those are the things. And I think sometimes people go, "Oh, okay, I've heard that before." And then I always challenge you to say, "But are you doing it?" Right? You might have heard it, but are you doing it? And I always talk about it like physical fitness, like building the muscles. Are you doing it consistently over time and making it a habit to build the muscles? Which brings me into, I want to talk about one more thing before we wrap up, because I am just amazed by, all of the hiking you do. We were just talking before about a climb you're going to be doing. And I want to talk about that for a minute, because it makes me think about it when it comes to just the mindset and pushing yourself to do things. Everybody has their different things that they want to do that's pushing them. But what got you into doing these climbs? And I don't even know, what do you even tell yourself when you're in the middle of a really intense climb?
Oh, that's a great question. So first, I climbed rock climbing when I was younger, and then I worked at an orphanage in 2012 in India for just a few weeks. And then a colleague at UCLA, I was teaching there at the time, his family is from Nepal, and he said, "If you go to India, you got to go to Nepal and just see my family and check it out. It's so amazing." So on the flight from Calcutta to Kathmandu, I saw something in the air on the plane, and my mind couldn't figure out what it was until I realized it was Everest sticking above the clouds. And it was really weird. Something clicked, and since then, all I wanted to do was be at the highest peak of anywhere I can find. And so, like you said, 4 continents, 21 countries, and I think it's about 19 states as well. And so that got me into climbing. And also, it's been so great for me because I can't work out without a goal. There's no way I'm going to exercise every day if I don't have a goal. So I try and climb one massive mountain every year. This last one I just did Kilimanjaro, did Aconcagua, the highest in South America, the year before that. And coming up, I'm going to go for Denali. And so I can easily exercise every single day because I have that massive goal. And also, Julie, it's just exciting for me as I'm laying in bed. I read books about the mountain, for months before I run out of all the books about it. But I keep exercising. So that's really good for me to have a non-work goal that I'm also very excited about, because I think we do need that balance. And climbing a mountain, in many ways, it's really selfish. Aconcagua took 17 days on the mountain. I was gone for a month.
Wow.
Denali is going to take 21 days on the mountain, and I'll be gone for a month. And so I've got a wife and 2 kids, but luckily my wife understands that I'm a better husband and father when I do these massively big challenges, and I get that out of my system to then just be super comfortable, sitting at home, having a long dinner, doing nothing, taking a walk in the neighborhood. And so it's good to get that out. And so the goal leading up to it, and then the post benefit, I think everybody should have a big goal. And you, for example, doing conferences and things, that's a big deal to prepare and go to a conference, especially if you're speaking like you do, and then the kind of big exhale afterwards. There's that adrenaline that just kind of you ride that for a few days even afterwards sometimes, depending on the conference. And so those are wonderful things to do often enough that you have those up peak and then your exhale, and then another peak and another exhale.
That's such a great way to explain it. And it is so interesting. Like, I'm a wife. I have a 6-year-old. I am a better wife. I'm a better mom when I have those outlets. Like, for me, speaking on stages, having those challenges is like, I always say, it feels like home. It's just like this adrenaline rush. But it takes a lot of energy, and it takes travel, and it takes, and then you come down and you're like, okay, I don't want to talk to anyone for a little while. Okay, I'm ready. But that's what you need. And so a big thing that I'm hearing too from what you're saying for people to take away is have those things, have your thing outside of just what you do, like another thing that you can look forward to, and take care of you. And I see this a lot with, high performers, high achievers, where it's like goal, 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 and they're checking them off, but are you enjoying it? And also, are you like showing up and being who you want to be in other areas of your life? And are you taking care of you and doing other things? And so that's a reminder for everyone as well, is that this life is supposed to be fun, right? It's supposed to be fun. We're supposed to enjoy it. And if you're not, what are some things that you can start doing? It doesn't have to be climbing a mountain, but if it is, that's amazing. But what are those things that you can start implementing in your life to get that joy in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned we're similar in ways we think, I think. I always say, people talk about the teeter-totter of family and work all the time, but I think you need 3 things. You need the family side, you need the work side, but also the self. It's a triangle, not a teeter-totter. That those 3 things need to be balanced, I think, to have true, peace, balance, whatever the right word is. But all 3 of those things are important. And a lot of people forget about the self. They spend so much energy on family and work that they totally forget about themselves.
Oh my goodness. I feel like we could talk forever. This has been such a good conversation. I love to end every single episode with this question. And then obviously I want to leave time for you to share what you have going on. So I ask all of my guests this. So obviously the name of this podcast is It Starts With You. And I have a lot of reasons why I named it that, but I love to ask my guests, what does It Starts With You mean to you?
It starts with you, to me, means helping other people get what they want. And I stole that from Zig Ziglar, but I really believe in helping other people do what they want, get what they want. And in doing so, good things come back, and you don't do it because it comes back, but it starts with you helping people get what they want.
Oh, I love that. And every single guest has answered it differently, and every single one is just so beautiful. The ripple effect is what just came to mind when you said that. When you start showing up and doing things, you have this ripple effect that goes out to other people, and we could sure use more of that. So thank you so much, Erik. So I know that after people listen to this episode, they are going to want to find you. So share with us, how can people follow you? How can they stay connected? And what do you have going on that you can share with any of the listeners?
Okay, so the easiest way to connect is my website is erikseversen.com, and my email is erik@erikseversen.com. Love hearing from readers from the books, listeners from podcasts, and things like that. And the things I'm mainly doing right now is book production. A lot of people are reaching out. If anybody has a book idea, I highly recommend getting it written, because there's so much self-actualization that happens when people are writing, even whether it's an idea that they have or a memoir. And so a lot of what I've been doing is book consultation as well, which has been really great to see people watch their excitement as they start a book, whether it's their memoir or their idea that they're finally getting down on paper. So that's a big part about what I'm doing. And a lot of public speaking is coming back more and more and more. And I also work with people who have upcoming speeches as well. So that's kind of what my main focus is right now. And it's been a really good year so far.
Amazing. And we will make sure that we link all of this in the show notes as well. I know a lot of people that are really being driven right now to write a book and to get their stories and things out there. So if that's you and you're listening, because I know some of you are, connect with Erik. Obviously, I have worked with him before, and it's absolutely amazing. So we will make sure that we drop all of those in the show notes. Erik, thank you so much again for being on. And for everybody listening, make sure that you share the love when you listen to this episode. Make sure that you share it on social media. Tag myself, tag Erik. Let people know so they can check out the episode as well. Thank you all so much for listening. And remember that it starts with you.